Here we go. Just gonna turn it up a little bit. So factoring is something that we have actually already covered before, but the reason we covered it before is because it also ties into quadratics. We're now entering the second half of quadratics. We took the mid-chapter test yesterday, and I'm telling you from today, because this is what happened with the vocabulary test. I told you from the first day that we started quadratics that you were going to have a mid-chapter test. That you were going to have a vocabulary test in 4 days. What happened in 4 days? You wanted an extra 5 minutes to study. Then I told you that day that you were going to have a mid-chapter test on Monday. That test got pushed back to Tuesday. And what happened on Tuesday? You wanted an extra 5 minutes to study. I'm telling you right now, if you failed the mid-chapter test, we already have set in the schedule the final exam for quadratics on the Wednesday after we get back. We'll have one more lesson, a review day on Tuesday, and then the exam. So don't come in here surprised on Wednesday talking about, we have a test, give me 5 minutes. No, it's not gonna work. It didn't work for the vocabulary test. It didn't work for the mid-chapter test. Actually try studying this time. Quadratics, factoring ties into quadratics. When we are solving these quadratic equations, what we are actually looking for are the zeros, are the x-intercepts. By solving a quadratic, you are looking or you're finding the x-intercept. X-intercept. What's another word for an x-intercept? Zero. What else? Roots. Solutions is a similar word to what? Not solving. A solution. A solution is another way of saying the answer. So x-intercept is the solution. Your x-intercept is the answer. The most popular of those three is which one? Bless you. Zeros. So we've been repeating this over and over and over and over, even while we were studying linear. We talked about the zeros. We talked about the x-intercepts. And tell me why I still have people giving me the vertex, giving me the axis of symmetry instead of my zeros. You guys need to study, need to get it. All right. Now, these are the steps that you're going to take to factor these problems. We've already learned half of this. We're only going to be adding one more step to the factoring part. And the graph right here, we're only going to have a graph for this very first example because I want you to be able to compare. I want you to be able to see that solving the quadratic by factoring will point out what the zeros are on the graph. Okay, so first step, you want to set it equal to 0. Setting it equal to 0 is the same as making it equal to y equals. When we're doing that, you're putting the equation in standard form. Oh Lord, standard, oops. Standard form, which is just y equals form, ax squared plus bx plus c. So you always want to make sure that trinomial is in that order. You factor it by using your different methods that we used. We either went directly into the diamond, we learned how to kidnap, and we always have to remember to simplify every fraction. 3 and 4 are the brand new steps. We learned how to do 1 and 2, and we took a test over that. So here we go. First thing you want to do, you want to set it equal to 0. You want to make sure that all of your terms are on the same side. So how would I make sure, or how do I move the 2x so that it is on the same side as x squared minus 3? Minus 2x. So we're going to subtract minus 2x. Now, when you're bringing down your terms on the left side, you want to make sure you bring them down in order because you want it to be similar to standard form. So I'm going to bring down the x squared. Instead of -3, even though it was already there, I'm going to bring down minus 2x. Putting these in the correct order will help you, or it'll prevent you from putting the wrong number into your diamond. 2 minus 2 gives us 0. Step 2, factor it. When we are factoring, it is very important that you always check to see if there is a number or a coefficient in front of x squared. Since there is no coefficient in front of x squared, we go directly to the what? Diamond. Okay. Now in the diamond, the top number represents the product. I'm not going to write this every time because this is something that we've already gone over. The bottom number represents the sum. Which number out of those is going to go at the top? -3. We said it over and over and over. Last number falls to the top. So -3. If it's negative, include the negative. And on the bottom, -2. All right, go ahead and solve the diamond. What two numbers multiply to get -3, add to get -2? -3 and 1. -3, +1. -3 times 1, -3. -3 plus 1, -2. What do I do with those factors? Put them into binomials. X in the front, because it's a -3, the first binomial, x minus 3. +1, second binomial, x plus 1. Does everybody remember that? Head nods? Okay. This is the step that we're adding. We're now on step number 3, where it says set each binomial equal to 0. We are now going to convert each binomial into its own equation. We're going to convert it into its own equation by setting it equal to 0. So I'm going to take the x minus 3 equals 0. Take the x plus 1 equal 0. I solve for x. Solve for x. That's step 4. How do I solve for x on this first equation? What do I need to do? Get rid of the 3. And how do I get rid of the 3? By adding it. It's already subtracted, so we're going to add 3 to both sides. -3 plus 3 cancels out, and we get x equals 3. X equals +3. Next, we're going to solve the other one. We have a +1, so how do I move it to the other side? Subtract. -1 on both sides. 1 minus 1 gives us 0. That cancels out, and we're left with x equals -1. Any problem with this part? We're going to have a few more examples. Don't worry. Now, highlight that 3 and the -1. These two numbers are the numbers that represent, these are the numbers that represent your x-intercepts. These are your x-intercepts. So let's take a look at the graph. Let's take a look at the graph, because everything I just did here mathematically should match up with something over here. We have an x and a y axis, and the reason I'm going back over this part is because I'm still getting ordered pairs the wrong way. X and y axis. So somebody give me the ordered pair or the coordinate for one of the zeros. -1, 0. -1, 0. -1, 0. Still getting 0, -1. The -1 is your x value, 0 is your y. This -1 is on the x-axis, so -1 has to go in this spot. X always comes first, then your y. Alphabetical order. All right, what is the coordinate, the point for the right one? 3, 0. X value first, then your y value. X value first, then your y value. This number 3 is on the x-axis, on the line with the x. So the 3 has to go here. Even though I don't see, I can't go back to the left. If I go back to the left here, I can find a 1. If I go back to the left here, I find a -1. 5th grade stuff. If I go back to the left, straight left, it's a 0. The y value is 0. This is 5th grade stuff, but I'm still getting it in the wrong order. So I got to treat you like a baby. So notice x equals 3. My x-intercept is 3. X equals -1. My x-intercept is -1. Your zeros. You will not always be provided a graph to look at. If you're given a graph and an equation, yes, even though you have to solve the equation, the answer is as easy as looking at the graph and picking the answer choice that says -1, 0, 3, 0. But you're not always going to be provided a graph. So if all you have is the equation, you have to solve. Yes.
So you see the graph is there and
Uh-huh. Yeah, they're the same. Solving this will always, 100% always give you these points. Solving this will always give you these points. Factoring this will always give you these 2 points. But once again, they don't always provide a graph. Sometimes all they give you is a graph and you have to know how to find the ordered pairs. But a lot of the times they give you just the equation and you have to know to factor it. Look at example 1. It says, write a statement about f of x equals x squared plus 5x plus 6. That is true. It doesn't tell you by factoring, and it will not tell you by factoring. The reason you know to factor is because this equation is a quadratic equation. You cannot solve for x. You could have y equals, but you cannot solve for x because these two don't combine. The only way to break apart this squared is by factoring. So let's factor. Your answer choices are going to look like this, where your binomials are at the end, but the actual value, the number, goes in these blanks. First thing you do when you factor, you always want to look in front of the squared term to see if there's a number. Since there is not, what do? Go straight to the diamond, where the last number goes to the top and the middle number in the bottom. So two numbers that multiply to get 6, add to get 5. What are they? Thank you. 3 and 2. This morning, I got a lot of 1 and 6, -1 and 6, 6, -1. 6 times 1, yes, that does give you 6. But if you add those, you either get 7 or you get a -5, something like that. All right. Now, let's go ahead and put those into the binomial. X. We have a +3 and a +2. +3, +2. Now, sure, we could stop there, fill this part in. In your answer choices, you would have 4 answer choices with similar wording to this. You would find x +3 and x +2. It could be the other way around. It could be x +2, x +3. But the numbers that you're going to have in the very beginning where it says the zeros are, the x-intercepts are, highlight that word. The x-intercepts are, you actually have to solve it. Okay? You're actually going to have to solve it to know what these numbers are. So let's set each binomial equal to 0. X +3 equals 0. X +2 equals 0. One-step equation, nothing too difficult. Day 1, solving equations. Should have had it last year anyway. How do we move the 3 over? -3. -3 on both sides. So we get x equals -3. How do we move the 2 back over? -2. X, that cancels out. We get x equals -2. So even though it's a +3 and a +2 in parentheses, the actual x-intercept should be at -3 and at -2. That's what you fill in here. On a STAR test, this will already be filled in, but I'd rather not give you the answer. I'd rather you find the answer, fill it in yourself. Ready? Another type of equation that we factored is when a is greater than 1. When a is greater than 1, meaning we know we have to factor because you have that squared, but the squared term has a coefficient. It has a number in front. Now, the wording on this question is a little bit more different. It does ask for the solution set. the solution set. It means the set of x-intercepts. So if you look at where I wrote answer, notice they're squiggly. They're not actual parentheses. These are called brackets. Brackets are not the same. Brackets are not the same as parentheses. Parentheses tell you what the coordinate is, what the point is on the graph. They're not the same as parentheses. Now that's just my equal sign with the line through it. Whenever you see that, it means not equal to. They're not the same. They're not equivalent. It's not a point. A point is an X and a Y value, but these are brackets. Here, the only thing they're going to do is put the X value. They won't write X equals, but we're going to go ahead and write it. That way you know where these numbers are coming from. We have to do all of the solving and just insert the numbers. So your answer choice could be 3, 2. That doesn't mean +3, +2 on a graph. It just means one of the zeros or one of the x-intercepts is 3, 0. The other one is 2, 0. Let's solve this one. First thing you want to do is make sure that all of your terms are on the same side. What do I need to move? How do I move it? Add 4x. Make sure that you're bringing your terms down in the correct order. So I bring down 5x squared first, then what? Plus 4x minus 12. -4 plus 4, that gives me 0. Okay. But because I have a number here in the front, that is kidnap. What does it mean to kidnap? What do we do with that number in the front? Move it to the back by multiplying. Multiply it by the one in the back. It changes the equation to x squared plus 4x and -12 times 5 minus 60. We're now ready for the diamond. Last number falls on the top. -60 and 4. We're not actually going to go through the steps of or write down the steps of how to find the factors when we get to a large factor like this. That is something you've written in your notes multiple times, on more than one occasion. So you want to know what the steps are, you want to know what buttons to push, look it up. That's whenever you're doing your homework. Let's actually talk about it here. Where do I go to find the factors? Go to y equals. What do you type into y equals? Divided by x. What do you put into y2? How do you get to y1? Alpha, trace, enter. Alpha, trace, enter. Good. Now where do I go? Second graph. Go to your table. And where am I looking for the 4? In y2. I see a 4 right here. Is that it? No, because it is a -4. I'm looking for a +4. So I either keep scrolling down and find it, or I could scroll up and find it in another spot. But you're gonna find it. So it doesn't matter if you find the one that says -6 and 10 or 10 and -6. It's the same factors, okay? That's the only one I'm gonna show you on the calculator. So which one do y'all wanna use? What did we say? -6, 10? All right, let's set up the binomial, x minus 6, x plus 10. Are we done there? No, because we kidnap. If we kidnap, we have to do what? And what was my child? The 5, the number that I circled in the beginning. So divide the 5. And what do you do with every single fraction? You simplify, if possible. You simplify if possible. So when you simplify 6/5, does it change? Does it change? No. So what we learned to do something with that 5 on the bottom. What do we do with it? Move it in front of x, bring it up in front of x. Becomes 5x minus 6. bottoms up. 10 divided by 5 gives you 2. Okay. Yeah, this is not my solution set. My solution set is after I get done solving, but I'm assuming that you guys have already run out of space. So I'm gonna go to the left side because when I was writing this, I did run out of space. I'm gonna write my 5x minus 6 equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0. If you didn't run out of space, you'd keep going down, but I did. All right, what's the first step? This one is a 2-step because we actually have a coefficient here. What do? Add 6. Okay. 6's cancel out, bring down 5x. And what's the last step? Divide by 5. So we get x equals positive 6 over 5. What about the next one? 1 step. Minus 2. The 2's cancel out. We get x equals negative 2. All right, see. That is my solution set. X equals 6. So you'll have what looks like an ordered pair. I was waiting for people to finish that. What looks like an ordered pair, but it'll have 6, 5, negative 2. Or backwards, negative 2 and 6, 5. 6 over 5. What if they put that 6/5 in decimal form? What would that be in decimal form? Did you say negative? It's a positive 6 over 5. If I go to alpha y equals, type it in that way. You can always switch it back to a decimal by pressing math. Decimal is option 2, so you have to go down, enter, enter, and there's your positive 1.2. Just in case, just in case. I don't know if it'll always happen. Go back up. Right there. Yeah? Okay. So, next one. Once again, quadratics is such a big unit, or it's such a big thing in the STAR test. This is another way they could present the question. What are the solutions? What are the solutions? It'll ask you x equals something, x equals something. They might only include one of them, but this one's asking, what are the solutions? Once again, solutions are your x-intercepts. They are your zeros. So we know we have to factor. Now, most of the things that we factor, we use the diamond. We can only use a diamond if it's a trinomial. This one is not a trinomial. So how do I know, or there are 2 different ways to recognize when you have to use difference of squares. You can use box method to get this, but not to break it apart. How do you recognize difference of squares? There's 2 different things to look for. The minus sign, minus in the middle. That's the biggest one. The word difference means minus. The word difference means minus. So if you see a minus in the middle, put minus in middle. Write this down so I don't have to keep going up and down. Minus in middle. What else? In the middle of what? In the middle of a binomial, in the middle of, let me just write it in easier words to understand. In the middle of 2 terms, in the middle of 2 terms, minus in the middle of 2 terms. That is your indicator. That is the hint that lets you know you can try to find the difference of squares, or that you can try to find what? The root of them. If it doesn't give you the root, obviously that's a whole different topic, but this one does. So let's find the root. The square root of x squared is what? X. X times x gives you x squared. So the root is x. The root of 25 is what? Is 5. I'm going to highlight that minus sign because that's one of the important parts. You do not include the negative into the root that this one is just used so you know what to do. You just take the root of 25, which is 5. Set up your binomial, which would be x, 5 in the back. And what is the last step? Plus minus, plus minus. But these are not the solutions. It looks like we're at the solution part. We still have to solve for x. You can't solve for x until you turn it into an equation. So x plus 5 equals 0. X minus 5 equals 0. Both one-step equations. What do I do to the first equation? Subtract 5. Minus 5 on both sides. And we get x equals -5. The other one, add 5, plus 5 on both sides, plus 5. We get x equals +5. X equals +5. I had somebody earlier that was super confident saying, well, it's just going to end up being the same thing because you got the -5 over here, the +5 over here. You're not always going to have 2 5s. So you do have to solve. Ready? So now just fill in your, we got a +5, we got a -5. Next example, example 4. It's worded differently, but you're going to answer it the same. It's asking for the value of x. What is the value of x? Which value of x is a solution? When it says a solution, they're only going to ask you for one of them. A means if I say I'm going to give you a piece of paper, I'm talking about one. So they just want one of the solutions. You still have to do all the work, but only one of them is going to match up. X equals, okay? But when you see the word a solution, at least you know that only one of them is going to match up, not both. All right. We have a number in the front. What do? Kidnap. You're going to take that number, chunk it to the back. You're going to multiply it with 3. That changes the equation to x squared minus 7x, and 2 times 3 is 6, +6. Put it in your diamond. What goes on top? On the bottom? -7. What are your factors? 2 negatives make a positive. -1 plus -6 gives me -7. Good. X minus 1, x minus 6. We still don't have the value of x. You can't have the value of x until you solve. Oh, but we are not ready to solve. Why not? You have to give the kid back. I almost forgot to do that, even though I have my notes sitting in front of me. You got to give the kid back. So we're going to divide by 2. 1 divided by 2, does that simplify or reduce? Nope. So you got to bring the 2 bottoms up to the top. Becomes 2x minus 1. 6 over 2? Three. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Oh, okay. All right. If you run out of space, I'm actually going to come over to the left. You might not have 2x minus 1 equals 0. X minus 3 equals 0. All right. Let's solve. First step on the first one, +1. We get 2x equals 1. Last step, divide. Divide by 2. Some of you guys may notice a pattern. If you notice it, keep it to yourself. Most people have to go the whole way. And that gives us what? 1 over 2. What if they ask us for 1/2 in decimal form? What would we write? 0.5. Because it may be a bubble in answer. Got to think about all our options. What do you do with the 3? Add 3. 3's cancel out and you get x equals 3. X equals 3. So fill in your answer. X equals, You can write the 0.5, that's fine. X equals 0.5, X equals 3. X equals 0.5 or X equals 3. Only one of those will be an answer choice. Ready? Last example. Example 5. What is a what? Positive solution. That means if we have a positive x-intercept, that is under the assumption, we're assuming that there will also be a what? A negative one. So we're going to fill in both, even though the question's only asking for the positive one. Can I go ahead and put this into a diamond? There's no number in front. Move the 9x, plus 9x, plus 9x. Changes to x squared plus 9x minus 36 equals 0. Now I'm ready for the diamond. Negative 36 on top, 9 on the bottom. What are my factors? 12, negative 3. Put it into the binomial. So you get x plus 12, x minus 3. And then you solve. Do I need to slow down? No? Okay. So x plus 12 equals 0. Grab that x minus 3. X minus 3 equals 0. All right, let's solve. What do I do with the 12? Subtract minus 12 on both sides. Cancels out on the left. X equals negative 12. So even though in the binomial looks like it's going to be my positive solution, you have to finish solving. What about that minus 3? What do I do with that? Add it. A lot of people, a lot of students like to jump the gun and say my positive solution is a 12 without solving. And that's how you end up making an easy mistake. Because if you can make it this far, I'm pretty sure you can make it this far. All right, x equals 3. So the positive solution is 3. The negative solution is negative 12. All right, you will have a notebook check on Friday. Glue this into 115. I have all of the page numbers written from 109 of 115 because I can't remember the last time that we did a notebook check.